Welcome to Freethought Matters. I'm Annie Laurie Gaylor, co-founder and co-president of the Freedom from Religion Foundation, which produces this weekly show. Visit FFRF.org to learn more about our critical work to keep religion out of government and public policy and to promote the views of non-believers. Ask for a sample of our newspaper, Freethought Today, or join. We're continuing our two-part series on the unsung Freethought history of the great American Songbook. Famous composers like Yip Harburg, George and Ira Gershwin, Irving Berlin, Cole Porter, Rodgers and Hammerstein, and many others were not religious. Their natural Freethought perspective informed their music. Let's join FFRF Co-President and jazz pianist Dan Barker as he continues leading us through the history of the creative and irreverent personalities who wrote the great American Songbook.
Somewhere Over the Rainbow, according to the American Film Institute's list of the top 100 movie songs, Over the Rainbow is number one. That's one of those songs that everybody knows. The music was written by Harold Arlen, and the words are by Yip Harburg, E-Y, Yip Harburg, who also wrote the lyrics to It's Only a Paper Moon, Brother Can You Spare a Dime, April in Paris, April in Paris, songs for many musicals and movies, as well as the lyrics and much of the screenwriting for The Wizard of Oz and the musical Finian's Rainbow. Yip Harburg was born the same year as Ira Gershwin, both to Jewish Russian immigrants. They attended the same school. They sat next to each other in class. Yip and Ira discovered that they both loved words, and they developed a friendship that lasted a lifetime. As a teenager, Yip realized he had no religious feelings after his older brother died. When both of his parents died, the shock left him an agnostic. I threw over my religion, Yip said. I began seeing the world in a whole new light. The house of God never had much appeal for me. Anyhow, I found a substitute temple, the theater. In 1932, while the country was in depression and the presidential candidate FDR was advising everybody to sing happy songs, well, Yip Harburg and Jay Gorney were looking around. Jay Gorney is a composer, another Russian Jewish immigrant that I'll talk about in a minute. They wrote a realistic song about the sufferings of actual life. Brother, Can You Spare a Dime became a huge hit. It launched Yip on a career as a lyricist. First I built a railroad, made it run, made it race against time. First I built a railroad, now it's done. Brother, can you spare a dime? In 1943, Yip Harburg wrote the first all-black Broadway musical. It was called Cabin in the Sky. The movie featured Ethel Waters, Eddie Rochester Anderson, Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, and Lena Horne. One of the songs Yip wrote for Lena Horne was Ain't It the Truth? Life is short, short, brother, ain't it the truth? And there is no other, ain't it the truth? You gotta rock that rainbow while you still got your youth. Oh, ain't it the solid truth? Pretty free-thinking lyrics. Yip Harburg was blacklisted for 10 years because of his liberal views. He was not a communist, but he knew some people who were, so that got him in trouble. Yip also wrote, besides music, he also wrote some light satiric verses poking holes in all things sacred. Some poems with titles like Do Unto Others, Atheist, How Odd of God. These poems, including some newly discovered verses, have been republished in the book Rhymes for the Irreverent. My favorite of those poems is called Lead Kindly Light. Where Bishop Patrick crossed the street, an X now marks the spot. The light of God was with him, but the traffic light was not. In one of his newly discovered poems, Yip observed, "They who live on love and laughter don't mess around with the hereafter." Yip Harburg did not believe in an afterlife over the rainbow. He was inspired by beauty, hope, and humanity. He knew there is a place in the human heart where dreams really do come true. The composer of Brother Can You Spare a Dime was J. Gorney. And like the lyricist Yip Harburg, J. Gorney was a non-believer who also ended up being blacklisted. J. Gorney is the man who discovered Shirley Temple, and for whom he wrote her first movie song, Baby Take a Bow. Gorney wrote such standards as You're My Thrill, What Wouldn't I Do for That Man, plus hundreds of popular songs for theater, film, and television. His widow, Sandra Gorney, told us on Freethought Radio that they were not a religious family. Although born into a family of Polish Jewish immigrants, Jay became more involved with social causes than with any religious heritage. Jay's entire life, Sandra said, was dedicated to helping his fellow man and woman as an artist and as a concerned human being. This past weekend, one of my granddaughters started singing the song, Do, a deer, a female deer, Ray, a drop of golden sun. Everybody knows that song. The songwriter, Richard Rodgers, was one of the great composers of musical theater, and he was, by his own words, an atheist. With the lyricist Larry Hart, and later with the lyricist Oscar Hammerstein II, Rodgers wrote 39 great Broadway musicals, including The Sound of Music, Babes in Arms, Pal Joey, Oklahoma, Carousel, South Pacific, and also the movie State Fair. Many of the standards in the Great American Songbook emerged from musicals by Richard Rodgers, including songs like Blue Moon, Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered, Getting to Know You, Have You Met Miss Jones, If I Loved You, Isn't It Romantic, It Might As Well Be Spring, Manhattan, My Favorite Things, My Funny Valentine. My Heart Stood Still, Some Enchanted Evening, Spring Is Here, This Can't Be Love, and You Took Advantage of Me. Richard Rodgers' wife, Dorothy, said, "We are not religious. We are social Jews." Biographer Merle Seacrest writes, "Those around him knew that Rodgers was an atheist. At the age of 12, his daughter, Mary, asked her father whether he believed in God, and he answered that he believed in people. If somebody is really sick, I don't pray to God," he said. "I look for the best doctor in town." On the subject of inspiration, Rodgers said, "That's a bad word for what happens to me when I'm writing. What I do is not as fancy as some people may think. It is simply using the medium to express emotion. This isn't a question of sitting on the top of a hill and waiting for inspiration to strike. It's work. People have said, 'You're a genius.' I say, 'No, it's my job.'" Richard Rodgers was not inspired by faith. He was inspired by the natural world, like the moon.
We'll be back with more music on Free Thought Matters after this break.
Hi, I'm Ron Reagan, an unabashed atheist, and I'm alarmed by the intrusions of religion into our secular government. That's why I'm asking you to support the Freedom from Religion Foundation, the nation's largest and most effective association of atheists and agnostics, working to keep state and church separate, just like our founding fathers intended. Please support the Freedom from Religion Foundation. Ron Reagan, lifelong atheist, not afraid of burning in hell.
Now, another composer, Frank Loesser. I'd like to get you on a slow boat to China, all to myself, alone. Frank Loesser is best known for writing the musical Guys and Dolls, with such songs as Luck Be a Lady, I'll Know, If I Were a Bell, and also the musical How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. Has the songs The Brotherhood of Man and I Believe in You. Frank Loesser was a non-believer. His daughter told us on Freethought Radio that her father's family were Jewish by blood, but not by thought or deed. No religion was practiced at home. Frank Loesser wrote the lyrics to Heart and Soul, and he wrote the words and the music to many other songs, including Baby It's Cold Outside, I Don't Want to Walk Without You, Baby, which Irving Berlin said was the best song ever written. Slow Boat to China, Standing on the Corner, Two Sleepy People, the music for the movie Hans Christian Andersen, and one of my all-time favorite songs, What Are You Doing New Year's Eve? Now, Charles Strouse. Put on a happy face. The composer of the musical Annie, The Sun Will Come Up Tomorrow, Bye Bye Birdie, and the song Those Were the Days from the TV show All in the Family. Remember that? Those were the days. That composer, Charles Strouse, does not believe in God. Those memorable melodies and many more have become an inseparable part of the fabric of modern popular American music. Strauss's songs have been performed by almost everyone, including Barbra Streisand, Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett, Bobby Darin, Mandy Patinkin, Harry Connick Jr. Strauss has written the score to more than 30 stage musicals, 14 scores for Broadway, 4 Hollywood films, including Bonnie and Clyde and All Dogs Go to Heaven, 2 orchestral works, and an opera. His main collaborator was the lyricist Lee Adams. Charles Strouse is not a believer. I grudgingly went to Sunday Hebrew school, he writes in his memoirs, but we were not what you would call religious, and this has stuck with me to this day. He describes a full and purpose-filled life in that memoir, working for music as well as civil rights. He traveled with the actress Butterfly McQueen, also a lifelong atheist, experiencing firsthand racial discrimination in the South. And he marched for civil rights with Sammy Davis Jr. in Selma, Alabama in 1965. On Freethought Radio, Charles Strouse told us, "Though my father was not an atheist, I am. I've been persuaded for a great number of years now by the wars, the calamities, the religious antagonism among people, and their stupid rules." Charles Strouse says he thinks the reason he has written so many happy songs is because, having grown up during the Depression, optimism became his way out. Put on a happy face, the sun will come up tomorrow, he tells us, with no thought of an afterlife. Now Stephen Sondheim. Send in the Clowns. Stephen Sondheim, the great Broadway composer, is not religious. Sondheim wrote the lyrics for West Side Story and the musical Gypsy. His first score as a composer and lyricist was for A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, followed by Anyone Can Whistle, Pacific Overtures, Company, Follies, A Little Night Music, Sweeney Todd, Merrily We Roll Along, Sunday in the Park with George, Into the Woods, Assassins, and The Frogs. His songs range from singable show tune hits such as Send in the Clowns to the densely lyrical operatic pieces that rely on integrated music and dialogue. The biographer Merrill Seacrest writes, "As for religious instruction, Stephen Joshua Sondheim received none at all. He never had a bar mitzvah ceremony. He knew nothing about the observances of the Jewish calendar, and he did not enter a synagogue until he was 19 years old." In the song Comedy Tonight from A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, Sondheim seems to assert that religion is boring. Nothing with gods, nothing with fate. Weighty affairs will just have to wait. Nothing that's formal, nothing that's normal. No recitations to recite. Open up the curtain. Comedy tonight. The music of Stephen Sondheim, like all of the other songwriters I've talked about on this show, was not inspired by religion or by faith. It is human music, natural music. Now let me end with a song that I got to write with Charles Strouse. Charles asked me to send him some lyrics, which he then set to music. It's called Poor Little Me. The multitudes mumble mythologies without end, but me, I have trouble with ologies that pretend to show what can't be shown, to know what can't be known. Lutherans have liturgies, Calvinists have creeds, Muslims have their minarets, Catholics have their beads, Methodists have methods, holy truth to ascertain, but poor little me, I only have a brain. Bishops transubstantiate, Shintos ring their bells, Transcendentalists meditate while Wiccans weave their spells. Hindus chant the mantra when they can't relieve the pain. But poor little me, I only have a brain. So fearful of the Netherland, believers band together. Unhappy with the weatherman, the Zunies wave a feather. They dance in circles to demand great spirits and some rain. But what do you do if you only have a brain? Quakers quake and Shakers shake and Jews eat kosher food. Rastafarians wear their hair in pious gratitude. They all boast of miracles that no one can explain. But poor little me, I only have a brain. So fearful of the Netherlands, believers band together. Unhappy with the weatherman, the Zunies wave a feather. They dance in circles to demand great spirits and some rain. But what do you do if you only have a brain? Quakers quake, Shakers shake, and Jews eat kosher food. Rastafarians wear their hair in pious gratitude. They all boast of miracles that no one can explain. But poor little me, poor little me, I only have a brain.
Thanks, Dan, for that fascinating and entertaining trip through the Freethought history of the great American Songbook. If you missed the first episode of this series, or any of our previous Freethought Matters episodes, go to YouTube and search for FFRF Freethought Matters. Thank you for watching Freethought Matters, because Freethought matters.
Hi, I'm Steve Pinker. In my book, Enlightenment Now, I show that the world has become a better place as reason has been overcoming superstition and tribalism. But the values of the Enlightenment are under attack. That's why I'm a proud member of the Freedom from Religion Foundation, the nation's largest association of free thinkers working to keep state and church separate. Please join me in supporting the Freedom from Religion Foundation to ensure that our government is driven not by religion, but by reason.